Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you've spent, any amount of time in modern MMOs, you are probably incredibly familiar with that feeling of burnout, right? It's that relentlessly, exhaustingly fast-paced treadmill where literally every time you log in, boom, you're just bombarded with limited time events, daily quests, and flashing notifications demanding your immediate attention. Well, today, we're going to explore a completely different design philosophy. We're looking at the deeply immersive, totally anti-burnout approach of the Immortal Realm shard, and we're specifically focusing on how they handle events. It's an approach that, honestly, entirely reimagines the pacing of a virtual world.
And this quote right here really captures the whole essence of what we're talking about today. Events are the punctuation. To really understand Immortal Realm, you kind of have to think of it like a piece of music. The shard features this very deliberate, slow, steady bass rhythm of sandbox play. We're talking about civic institutions that literally take months to navigate, and hand-authored quest lines that require weeks of dedication. So if the sandbox itself is that slow, steady baseline, well, the events are the dramatic cymbal crashes. They break that rhythm, give you a specific, highly memorable spike of action, and then they smoothly fade right back into the base layer.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The base rhythm and the rule of 3.
To actually grasp how this rhythm operates, we really need to look at the shard's rule of 3. First up, let's look at the three main instruments playing in this symphony, basically the three distinct categories of events. First, we have GM-run scenes. Now, these are entirely bespoke, run totally ad hoc by game masters who use their admin tools to, spawn creatures, move NPCs, and narrate a completely unique story. They're not scheduled by some coded system, and they literally never repeat the exact same way twice. Then you've got seasonal content. Now, what's interesting here is there's actually no automated seasonal code on the shard right now. So any seasonal arc you see, it's actually a multi-week GM-driven event. And finally, we have the Civic happenings. These are really cool because they don't require a GM at all. They're intricately built right into the shard systems.
Now, what's really interesting about these Civic happenings is that they function as the true background beat of the world. These are public scenes run by institutional orders. So, for example, you have the College of Surgeons holding public rank exams, like the Lung and Limb exam, hosted by Master Aldrich Vermeer. There are high ledger filings where players continuously file and witness contracts at a public desk. And honestly, my absolute favorite, the Velvet Hand Alms Loop. If you head over to the West Britain Bank, there's this permanent fixture, a decorative ragged Jetta NPC. And nearby players just get a prompt to give alms. It's always running. These aren't, massive, high-stakes dramatic interruptions. They're scheduled, ambient events that actually reward your attendance with real in-game reputation.
Moving on to Section 2, finding the tempo across 3 channels.
So with all of this going on, how do you actually know when to tune in? Well, first and foremost, Discord is absolutely the canonical channel. The events or announcements channels are really where the shard's event tempo runs, especially for those bespoke GM scenes we talked about. But to truly integrate into the world, you also got to rely on the second channel, in-game messaging. We're talking imminent broadcasts or posts right on the Civic roster boards. And the third channel? That's actual Civic order participation. When you join an order, you get plugged straight into their internal calendar, which gives you advance notice of things like college exams or Velvet Hand scenes way before the general public even knows about them.
So the crucial point is, Section 3, the event reward system. Let's talk about what you actually earn.
Because, of course, participation inevitably leads to the question of compensation, right? Like, why show up? Well, the shard deliberately structures its event rewards to protect the core economy, focusing on a triad of options. First, cosmetic drops, so themes, clothing, and titles. Then time tokens, which are a playtime currency redeemable for utility items. And finally, reputation, which boosts your civic standing. Now notice what is explicitly missing here: raw gold and PvP gear. And that is an incredibly intentional design choice. The shard purposely separates the event economy from the daily sandbox grind. That way, participating in a story event never ever feels like you're just grinding for stats or farming cash.
Section 4. Avoiding the content treadmill. A different pace.
To really appreciate what Immortal Realm is, we kind of have to talk about what it explicitly refuses to be. It completely rejects that standard theme park treadmill. I mean, there are no scheduled mass boss trains, no instanced PvP arenas, and definitely no highly aggressive FOMO scheduling. Instead, the shard fully embraces lore-tied scenes, meaningful faction and guild PvP right out in the open world, and this is huge, incredibly generous event windows. So missing a weekend doesn't cost you an entire season. The world is always doing something dynamic, but it is definitely not a treadmill that you're forced to compulsively consume just to keep up. Which brings us to Section 5, player-driven shard events and community action.
You see, the game masters aren't the only ones conducting this symphony. A massive part of the shard's heartbeat comes directly from the community itself. The players are constantly creating the social fabric here. They host their own guild or faction tournaments. They coordinate these massive craft or market days where literally all the active artisans gather in one spot to sell their wares, and they hold civic assemblies just to plan out faction wars. They even host fully in-character events like weddings or memorials. And because the Shard is such an intimate, dedicated community, honestly, just a simple, well-timed announcement on Discord can draw a real, massive, organic crowd to a player-run market day. It's really cool.
Section 6. How to join the band and get involved.
And this brilliantly illustrates how accessible it all is. At this point, you're probably wondering exactly how you can step into this world today, right? And without needing to grind for 400 hours first. Well, the onboarding is completely frictionless. Here are your 4 steps. 1. Plug into Discord, because that's essentially your calendar. 2. Just show up. Most events are completely casual attendance. You literally do not need a max-level character or an RSVP to just watch a Civic exam or check out a player tournament. 3. Join a Civic order to get that consistent built-in event rhythm. And 4. Once you're comfortable, start running your own events to help thicken the Shard's social fabric.
Ultimately, it all comes back to this core philosophy. The base game is the point. Events make specific moments memorable. See, so many MMOs eventually just devolve into lobbies for their events, right? The base game basically just becomes a waiting room. But Immortal Realm actively, fiercely resists that. The daily sandbox loop, the skill ups, the market visits, that slow civic maneuvering, that is the game. The events are just there to punctuate that beautiful sandbox sentence. They make specific moments truly memorable, without ever overshadowing the living world itself.
So, the ultimate question for you is, how will you punctuate the rhythm? Are you going to be the one running a sprawling market day? Maybe you'll be witnessing contracts at the high ledger, or even charging headfirst into a GM-narrated battle in Felucca. Whatever it is, I highly encourage you to check out the Immortal Realm Guide and the Immortal Realm lore to dive even deeper into this incredible world. Until next time, keep exploring and find your own tempo.